Hello, I'm Amy. I'd like to see those areas developed, that'd be nice. Yeah, no, I can find the Egypt coffee. They actually do have a coffee machine in there. I want to stay out there.
Get everybody get a thingy.
Yeah, that's true.
Phew, I was like, how do you dress today? It's warm in here. Layers.
Yeah, it is, it's on.
Yeah, thank God I'm on. Get out of here, will be chilled. I know, you're right.
Yeah, thank goodness the nights are cool still.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start the meeting. Let this meeting come to order. It's 5:35 and let's see, what's the date today? April 23rd. Still in jet lag, I think. Okay, well, I guess he's got the minutes, so I guess we can't move forward. But
Well, we can start, because I believe that number one is the meeting, or minutes for, I think it was February 20th.
Oh, you have them?
I don't have them.
Oh.
Ryan has not given me a draft of them. There are technical difficulties, apparently.
Oh, okay.
And
So what does that mean? Or 312 either?
312, I think.
You weren't
that
here.
I wasn't here for, and
Kip did it.
Kip
and,
did it.
And, yeah, and we did get the minutes, I think.
Yeah.
He sent us a copy of them, but we didn't approve them
Right.
officially, because we haven't had a meeting since.
yeah, and, I do realize that there are
Oh, that's public service, yeah. This is
technical
ours, okay.
difficulties are a thing and it happens. But I wanted to at least mention now that it is a little troubling to me that Ryan and I have been unable to achieve a workflow that gets the minutes done in a timely fashion. And if we don't get this done, and have something that I can rely on within the next few meetings, I think I'm going to have to resign as secretary. I just don't feel I can be responsible for the records unless we get this working in some way that keeps us on track.
I totally agree with you that we've had some holdups, mostly because of the fact that the emails weren't read, so that the agendas didn't get out on time, they didn't get posted, and then when they did, it was the wrong time, and everything just went wrong. And then after I left, there was no quorum. In fact, we did have a meeting one night, there was no quorum. We did not have a meeting because there wasn't a quorum. So we've been trying to have meetings, and it just hasn't worked out. And I agree, we are definitely behind on what we're supposed to be doing here, and we need to step it up. All of us, especially to show up at the meetings, so that we can have a meeting. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, Ryan has to get our agendas out on time and make sure that we know what's coming up in enough time that we can be prepared for the meeting and have the right time. Is 5:30 good for everyone? Because let me tell you something about the location. We weren't able to do anything last week. I just got home last week, but Mike Hines, who does Holyoke High School media, he has a media room and everything up at the high school. He was on vacation last week, so I couldn't get in touch with him, and I couldn't do it today. So I'm going to get in touch with him tomorrow to see if we can have our meetings there from now on at the Holyoke High School. It will be recorded, televised, it will be all legal. And so then we won't have to meet at 5:30, which is a little early, I think, for some people. I don't know, is 5:30 good for all of you guys?
I like it when I get home on time,
Okay,
or earlier, so it works out, but I can adjust.
Yeah, no, it works for me, but I too can adjust if later is more practical for everybody.
well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what the other four, because 5:30 works for me. I'm up at the gym, but I come right down and I'm here for 5:30, so. Okay, well, we'll talk about that, but you like that idea of being at the high school instead of being here, so we don't have to move rooms when the city council comes in because they're gonna have another meeting tonight at 6:30, so we're gonna have to move.
Yeah, and I like the fact that we can be televised, because the other thing that we could do potentially is move across to the conference room on the 4th floor of the annex, which is where the planning board meets on Tuesdays. But we don't have television facilities up there, and I know people really like being able to actually see the various city meetings. So I think if the high school is available and it works for everybody else, that's a really nice alternative.
Okay, great, very good. Okay, so the flyer and the survey finally did, so we'll move on to the next agenda unless, do you have any minutes, paper minutes from 226 and 312? Do you have paper minutes
I
for
know,
us?
like,
Yeah,
no,
no,
I
two-
know Kip Foley had minutes for,
Right, but he sent them out to us.
yeah, no, I did.
He
so
sent
the
them to
other-
you.
Yeah, and so the other minutes, I, just because I couldn't, the recorder was not, now that I have it, I can finish those meetings. That's what they tabled.
Okay.
Those-
At the next meeting,
We'll-
we want the paper copies of 226, 312, and today's meeting. We want paper copies of that for everyone.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other concerns or questions? Okay. Update on flyer and survey translations. Well, that was a little bit of a mix-up too. Unfortunately, everything seemed to go wrong the last month. I don't know why, but, the surveys and flyer were supposed to be copied. They were, not the flyer. The survey was copied, but it wasn't stapled. So we had 500 surveys not stapled. So in the meantime, somehow Ryan got, I don't know if you got all of them stapled. Did you get them all stapled, Ryan?
I got most of them stapled.
Most of them stapled. So we were able to get some out. But I don't know if they got to, Ryan, where did they get to?
Senior Center.
Okay.
YMCA. Library.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring some, is there some for me to bring to the Hoyle Cal Center?
I'm not sure, I'll take a look.
Yeah, because I wanna do that one.
And I handed some out at Conklin to the, who live in Holyoke.
Oh, good.
So most of them were Spanish speaking, so I took a lot of the Spanish ones and read them out, and hopefully they're gonna come back.
Okay, okay,
So,
good.
Great.
Maybe by next week. But I'm
Okay.
gone for the next 2 weeks also, May 1st through the 14th, so I'll try to get.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and Roberta will be at the next meeting. We can actually give them to her
Okay,
to
perfect.
take right with her, because she was supposed to set up something where we could do something here on a computer to enter whatever surveys come here, but she didn't do that yet. So I'm just gonna give them to her, and she can do that. So at our next meeting, she'll be here. Okay, the flyer, it didn't get copied until the Office of Community Development copied them for us just before the public hearing, public forum. So we do have flyers now, and they're in Spanish and English. Everything's been translated, so if you need that stuff, if you're going somewhere, a meeting of someplace where you think would be a good place for surveys to be, especially when you have your meeting, you can make sure and at the Historical Society, make sure they get did they do it?
And we usually don't have visitors or in public. The public generally doesn't show up.
No, I mean for your members. Just make sure
I
that,
had made them aware of
they-
that.
okay.
And
good.
I haven't yet. It was an online.
They can do it
survey.
online, which would be perfect too. That would be great if they can do it online. Then you tell the city council, make sure to take that survey online. Maybe you can bring it up at the next meeting.
Yep.
And of course, of your meeting, your planning board too. And I'm gonna try to get to a couple places that I said I was gonna do this coming week, because I'm not sure if how much farther she's gonna go with this survey, if she's gonna go much longer than another week or two, so.
I saw the date somewhere that it closed, and there was more time on it than I thought, but I don't remember off the top of my head now how much longer that was. So I will see if I can find it again and let you know.
Okay.
But it didn't look to me like it was closing in the next week, which was
Oh, good,
kind of a relief given the response to the public forum and the fact that, I think right now there's just so much happening in the city. It's really hard to break through.
Yeah, so she'll be here at our next meeting in 2 weeks, and maybe she may have to extend it a little bit because of the fact that, we had a little hold up on getting all that stuff out and copied and translated and everything, so. Any other questions or concerns about that? Okay, update on the public forum and preservation plan draft. She could not be here tonight, but she will be here in 2 weeks, and she definitely wants our input on that preservation plan draft by then. I'm almost finished reading it, and So if you could read through it, see if there's anything that hits you, that we need to change. I thought the public forum went well. There was about 50 people there, and I thought it went very well. All of us were there except for Libby, which Libby, by the way, she is leaving us. She's giving us someone else. She just became chair of the Parks and Recs board, so she is going to send someone else from her board to take her place. So hopefully there will be a smooth transition there. She said that she might come with that, whoever that person is, a couple times just to make sure they get in the groove. So, and anybody else have any information, anything to say about the public forum? Thank you, all of you, for being there. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you.
I have one concern that I think maybe we want to think about over the next couple of weeks, and that is, we were all at the public forum. I agree that it went very well, but it obviously skewed very heavily to one demographic. And I don't know if there's a cure for that. I don't have the kinds of contacts in the Hispanic community to really reach out. But this is obviously a plan for all of Holyoke, and if there's any way to cure that, even if it required a second public hearing, which, I think we could call perfectly well. If we could cite it at the high school, we could cite it here, notice it the way we would notice any public hearing, and try to really see if we can do any outreach that can get people in. We would still need somebody to translate probably. And
That was one of the suggestions that someone at the meeting said to me, is that if we do reach out to the Hispanic community in a different way, that maybe one of the key points would be to actually go through the survey with them, because she was
Yeah, that would be
in town,
great.
and she said she didn't know a lot of it, and she was almost intimidated by some of it. But then when she went to the forum, she felt much more comfortable with answering the questions and knowing how to answer them. So she thought that if we did any other gatherings, one of the focuses might be to actually go through the survey so that people understand, and then they could answer it with knowledge behind them.
I think there was one person there who needed translation. They did get it, and I think they did go over the survey with that person. And don't forget, we sent out 10,000 notices about that meeting in English and Spanish. 10,000.
yeah, and I know we sent them out, but
And it was on both Spanish and English. It said right on there when it was, the time, translation available. Yeah, so, that's, I don't
You
know.
can only do so much.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all for having as many public forums or hearings, whatever, as much as we can, but I don't know how to reach out to them. Basically, what we want them to do right now is to do the survey. And the survey's translated online and in paper, so if people want to take it, they have that ability to do that. And I don't know, how do we get in touch with the Hispanic community more than we
Maybe
did?
through the city councilors?
yeah, no, I would, if I had better contacts, I would do it myself. But, I would think, we talked to Josie Valentine, we talked to Nelson Roman, we see whether we can get feedback about what we haven't been doing that might help. I don't know. I am limited by being a monolingual English-speaking person who does a lot of their socializing online, but I think that it would be useful to at least make the gesture.
Go ahead.
Respectfully, I disagree. I think we've done enough reaching out. As Elaine said, we put out 10,000 flyers. We've got 3 Hispanic members of the city council that haven't gone to the meeting. So, and not to take a shot at them, we've done plenty. There's an apathy throughout this whole city. We have horrible voter turnout. We had 50 people show up, regardless of the demographic. 50 people.
right.
All right, that's it. And, excuse me, let me finish. Then on Friday night, we had a community outreach at the library. We had 10 people, 12 people show up, and 2 of them are city employees. So you discount Marcos Marrero and Rory, and we had 10 people there. Knock me out, you had 9, all right?
I
So it's just a general apathy, and I hope some people are watching and listening to me on TV, you know, it really stinks.
Well, I feel like we ought to recognize the fact that for whatever reason, we were scheduled opposite another event. And, you know, it is hard for people when it is the city democratic meeting for the year and awards are being given out. And I'm sure, you know, we had no city electeds at that forum. We normally have city electeds at things like that. They were all at this other event. And yes, the scheduling opposite was accidental. You know,
That was the same night?
it was the same night and the same time. I mean, I was invited to both of them, and obviously my duty was to this one. But
I don't want to spend the whole night arguing about it. I mean, through the show, how many people were there at the Democratic? Together.
many, I don't know. I wasn't there because
Many?
I had to go to our thing.
Okay, so,
Well, you can only do so much.
But you can only do so much.
and I think we've done
you
more
know,
than enough.
My point
you
stands.
know? I think we've done more than enough.
Well,
And hopefully in the future, as we get more projects coming before us and we're more in the limelight, and people see that it has its value, then they may, getting us up and running properly, I guess, would be nice if we could reach out more. But if it doesn't happen, then I think we have done quite a bit.
I was gonna say the same thing, that, once we get going, I think that a lot of, we might get more promotional benefit from what work we've done. And I've gotta say that it seemed like the general audience, at least at that event, you know, the same sort of items came up. I don't know that, you know, if I had to guess, which would be in the top 6 items that might appear in our first deliverable, you know, I think a lot of people are gonna have the same items. You know, I heard the train station over and over. I heard, you know, maybe the stained glass windows. There were a couple of projects that I think were featured that are perfectly fine for starters for us.
Right.
And then, which I think will benefit the city in general, and I think as people see it, then maybe people might be more inclined to attend and, you know, promote their own personal favorites. But in the meanwhile, I'd be fine with proceeding on those half a dozen projects that seem to be key in the city and you know, up in the rankings of what people probably want to look at first.
Yeah, that's true. I think once we start doing projects, that will start motivating people to show up and pay attention, because those projects are gonna be probably in the newspaper, and especially they will be coming up in front of the city council. We'll be having a public hearing, an actual public hearing on each project. So I'm hoping, like Mike said, that they're gonna start paying more attention, because we need them to do that. We need their input. We're only here to do what is brought into us, and we need to have that input.
well, you know, I certainly agree that we need to move ahead. For one thing, that, you know, the plan has to be completed and the grant is going to expire and all of that work needs to be done on the schedule of the actual, you know, consultant and grant. And we need to get up and running. My point is merely that we can amend things, nothing is going to be set in stone. And what's going to happen is, you know, yes, we could proceed with the 6 projects that everybody mentions, but the people who are enthusiastic about it will, you know, still be the same group, and the same people will come in front of the city council who already understand how the city council works. And I don't see this automatically broadening our reach through the city. You know, I think it is still worth exploring whether there's any other outreach we can do that is not always going to bring in the same old suspects. Not that the same old suspects should be, you know, discounted. They're involved citizens and they matter. I just hate to be quite so unambitious about this.
I'll certainly bring it up in a more forceful manner at next Tuesday's city council meeting. And Ryan will remind me of that,
Just tell
too.
them that when we're having the public hearings, that we'll make sure that gets on their agenda, so that, and that each city councilor of every ward will make sure that everybody in their ward knows about the fact that there's gonna be a public hearing, all that stuff. I mean, we can
great. Thank
certainly
you.
do that.
Will do.
And I think people need to understand how they have to present a project.
Yeah,
I think
that's,
they're all thinking, okay, let's do this,
Nah.
let's do that, but you have to come with an application
Yeah.
and a project and backup as to how this is gonna benefit, and if there's other funding that needs to be sought after, so it's not just having that, big picture of, boy, I'd like to save Scott Tower. It's, how are you gonna do it, who's doing it, and who's making the application, and that's what we're gonna be here to listen to.
Yeah, well, and I think
If it's not concrete,
that's the next really important part that the consultant is supposed to be helping us with. We have to develop our application materials and have a process for the application.
and
And
hire
criteria for
someone,
reviews and like that.
and hire someone to oversee all that for us
right,
during the day.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? We're all set on that, third agenda item? Okay, rules, I haven't heard anything from the city solicitor's office, have you? About the rules, did they get back to you yet, Mimi?
They haven't gotten back to me yet, and I will check in with Paul.
Okay.
Now, I did tell him when I transmitted them that these are preliminary because the application materials are to come. So it's possible that it got stuck down in the stack of the to-do list.
Okay.
But I'll check on where it is.
Okay, yeah, find out so that we can move forward on that. Any questions about the rules? No. At the last meeting, well, actually, it wasn't at the last meeting, Mike brought up this person that he knew to do a web page, or a web, not page, web
Like design?
site, actual private website of our own. And so I checked with that person, and she got back to me right away, and I also checked with Dave Caputo. He got back to me a little late. So I was away when his person that works for him finally got in touch with me. There was no way I could communicate with that person, so I told him to wait. But I did get response right away from the person, and I gave Mike, because he was supposed to have a meeting in between, I gave Mike her estimate, her information, all about it, and then he didn't have a quorum at the meeting, so he couldn't bring it up, and he has that paperwork from that person. So, but it was around $500 to start, and she's a nonprofit. She isn't from Hoyoke though, which that's why I wanted to see if Dave could do something for us. But he told me that the person that he's with, that he has working for him, said between $1,500 and $5,000 to start, depending on the content. So, right away I'm like, well, that's a little bit more already than what someone else was considering, and she went online and she looked at our webpage that we have already. She went and looked at other cities and towns. She looked at Medford, which Roberta's from, and they have a great website, and she got the estimate of around $500. So I don't know if you are comfortable without having the paperwork in front of you. Do you want to wait 2 more weeks? I don't think it'll matter one way or the other, or if you want to move forward with her, or what do you want to do? It's your pleasure.
I'd be all for moving forward.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. Seems like a good
She
idea.
sounds like she's done her homework
Yeah.
and taken the initiative. I think that's somebody we should go with.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
all right.
furthermore, it sounds like the right
Affordable.
ballpark.
Yeah, it does, it does.
So-
I think we have money now too. I'm not sure about that, but I think we should have some money now. I'll find out, because I'm gonna put in a claim for my recorder. I'll find out if we have money. So I'll have her come to our next meeting.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
great, thanks.
What was her name again?
I don't have her paperwork. I mean, and my emails are frozen at home. I mean, I don't have it in my phone, no. Sorry. But, we don't have to hire her. We'll have her come to our next meeting, and you can listen to her, see what she's got to say. So there's nothing definite yet, but, yeah. Okay. Let's see, the city's webpage, she was supposed to meet with me just before I left and to make sure that everything was on there that we wanted. She never called me back to meet, but I looked on the website when I got webpage when I got home, and it seemed like everything's there now. So the link to the survey, the translation. So I'm assuming that everything's okay. Haven't heard from her. So since then, I just happened to call Rory's office, and she was there, And she said, oh, I want to meet with her. So I said, okay, when? And I said, I'm leaving Monday for 2 weeks, but she said, I'll meet with you Friday. I'll call you. What time? She never called me. So anyways, but I think, is there anything on the webpage that any of you noticed that we don't have there that should be there? As long as that survey is there.
That's the important.
Flyer,
Yeah,
the
that's the
flyers
important
there, the translation, even the, what do you call it there, for people who have low income and moderate, the graph is there for them to see if they qualify for, that's on there, so. You know, okay, so hopefully we'll have our own, pretty soon we can manage it better, because have someone that will, will be just for us, and that'll be good. Okay, because they're doing over the city's website again, so that's causing problems for them. Okay, under other business, what Roberta wants us to do tonight is this calendar, which I'm going to give you all a copy up here. Please excuse my little bit of writing on each page. She wants us to go over this calendar. This is very important because this is going to tell us all about our projects and when we expect to start. She wants us to fill this out and get this back to her. So you guys can look at it, and she wants us to start with number 6 and work back. Number 6 is submits recommendations to the city council. When do we want to do that? This is really starting backwards. This is actually the final thing we will do with the project, but she wants us to start there so that then we can go backwards and make sure we end up there at the time we want. So, we were looking at spring 2019 to start making recommendations, but she wants us to write that down in a month, like March, April, May. And it's approximate. It's not written in stone, but she would like approximate.
Yeah, but no, I agree, not before next spring.
I'll give you a few minutes to look at it, the whole thing. The other 2 pages you can read at your leisure. I don't know, I think that was part of the forum, so those are important.
Well, hypothetically, if we started out and we said that we were going to submit recommendations, actually, this is where having a city councilor is really helpful. If we submitted recommendations in April, do you think that the city council would have time to take them up before the summer break?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You mean,
So it would be a recommendation from us about a project, and you would have all the information. We would give it to the city council to put on their agenda, and I don't know if you want to have the people come in again, and you probably would. You probably would want to question them, so it would have to go to subcommittee, and then back to the full board for a vote. So you need at least a month there.
yeah, April, May, June. Yeah, I think if we had maybe a March 30th deadline.
March 30th, so that you could vote for it by May for sure. Is that?
Well, by May now? I
Well,
think
for
we still
you.
meet in June, right?
Right, yeah. I'm just going, if we make the recommendation to you by March 30th, you would take it up your first meeting in April.
April,
So
yeah.
that would give you all of April to
Yeah.
do it. And maybe part of May, maybe
Part of May, it'll
there
give
could
us-
be a holdup, yeah.
They give us plenty of time, yeah.
So the projects that I've brought before East Hampton, Southampton, and Westfield, sometimes I actually go into a CPA meeting, and then all of a sudden the select board is meeting that night. They actually oversee and vote on the project that night. So it goes quickly in some of the other towns, so maybe it'll just be a learning curve for us. But on some of the other projects, we always have to go in order to support the project. but, it doesn't take long. I mean, it's basically the CPC that actually gathers all the information and gets all the important information, and then makes a recommendation to the council. And honestly, it's just a quick vote by the council in other towns, to either yay or nay it, and ask questions to the people bringing the project or the CPC committee.
There's the problem right there, but when it goes into the meeting on the full board night, they're gonna send it to subcommittee.
Yeah.
See, they're not gonna vote on it that night, I doubt very much, because if they have questions, they won't do it at the meeting, the full
Okay.
board meeting.
So,
I
I
would be
can almost
astonished.
guarantee it's gonna go to committee.
okay. And so in Holyoke, then it would be that it would go to committee, and then the committee would meet with the
Right.
project designers, and
Exactly.
then they would bring back their their feelings towards the project, and then the whole committee would, I mean, it's like,
Well, no, what would normally happen is it will go to committee.
yes.
The committee will decide how they want to proceed, whether they want to hear from the developers, whether the CPC's report is sufficient, whether they want to talk to the CPC. I mean, the counselors on those committees have a lot of discretion about how they'll handle it.
Right.
And then they'd make a recommendation to the full city council.
Hopefully that at the subcommittee, they'll have decided before they have it whether they want people in or not, so that they can make a recommendation that
Right.
night. But
Yeah, I think if it plays the way I think it should, they're gonna be giving a presentation to us about their project. It's just gonna be asking them to, make the same presentation to the committee. So when I file the order for the committee to send it to them, I can say that the such and such group be invited in to give the presentation that's already been recommended by the CPA, And so that it's right there, they're automatically invited in, and they can do their presentation that night and be there to answer any questions that the committee members have. Then when it gets to the full city council, the members that were there, hopefully that voted unanimously for it, I'll speak in favor of it, and the thing just flies right through, and that's it.
So as long as
That's-
we get some sort of a process,
Right.
so that people know when they bring a project, that this is the process that gets followed each time, because in the other towns, it's not that lengthy. So, we wanna know that, what is the process in Holyoke, and so that it should remain the same each time.
Right, exactly.
So my next question would be, if we were to shoot for recommendations for March 30th, do we have enough time? I mean, I'm sure in future years we will, but we're just getting this process established.
Well, these are approximate, so we don't have, it's not written in stone, but, if we get the applications and stuff going in the fall, we should be able to make a recommendation by the beginning of spring, yeah. I would like to think that that's what we would be able to do.
Okay,
Okay, so I think it's a good
good to know.
Okay.
test point.
Yes, okay, so March 30th is number 6. 2019, oh my gosh. Okay, so applicants present projects at community meetings, so that would be like the public hearing that we would hold on the project, which then we would make our recommendation on. So that should be sometime over January, February, if we want to have something ready for March 3rd.
March 30th.
March 30th. Thank you.
So we're going back to number 1?
No, we're going backwards
Backwards
to
to
number
number
5, yeah,
Okay.
where they present a project at a community meeting. So we should do that like February, because sometime in February, so that we can be ready to vote and present by the end of March. Okay, then the CPC evaluates applications and gathers public input. I'm not sure. See, now, what's the difference between gathering public input and having a community meeting? I'm not sure what she means by that, but we should be evaluating the applications this fall. Like, yeah, say we start asking for applications in September, and we say October 31st is the deadline for applications, then we're gonna look at them over November, December. Would that work?
So for we're talking about number 4 now,
Number
right?
4? Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're just following the timeline backwards, why not have January? So that everything else, all the applicants have to have everything in and submitted by the end of the
Yeah,
year.
that's true. That's true, because they may have other things that they have to get to us and stuff, yeah. Okay. All right, so we can put January as, and we can have it as either the 1st of January or the 31st, but we won't mark. We'll just put January. That way we'll have a month leeway in case we're ready by the 1st.
Right.
We
we've
can
got-
have that, yeah.
And
But
that's,
that-
you're talking about number 5?
This is number 4.
Number 4, okay. So you want January instead of October?
Where was October? We didn't do October
Well, I
yet.
just thought, I thought,
Oh, okay.
you know, I'm thinking ahead.
Okay.
So January here.
So if that's true, we should draw the line in the sand. They've got to have their funding applications in by December 31st, right?
Oh, we need more time than that to do they have to have their applications in either by the end of October, so we have at least November, December to look at them, yeah.
And this is where I start to worry about the timing. Not,
Exactly,
you know, because that means to have decided what documentation we need to see on all of these and have applications that people can fill out. And that's gonna take some time. I mean, things like, for instance, the Victory Theater or similar projects, you know, do we want to ask for instance, a guarantee or some demonstration by an engineer that the project is still viable? And I would think the answer to that would be yes. And people need some lead time to be able to respond to whatever we're going to ask for in these applications.
Right, yes, so we'll need at least 2 months,
Yeah.
at least 2 months, that by the time they put the application in front of us, for us to look at it, ask them for stuff, more input, and then have it ready for January to go
Yeah.
forward, if it's going forward.
I think it's doable, but it's going to be a tight timeline.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at starting applications September 1st, but I don't know if you want to do it earlier. We could start accepting them over the summer if you
No,
want.
if we can have the applications ready fast enough. And
Well, Roberta's got to have this stuff all done for us by June 30th. She has to have the application done for us, and everything, all of her work, so that we can start.
well, all of her work has to be done by then.
But that includes the application.
That includes the application, but, you know, we are under no obligation that I'm aware of to, you know, she'll have to have the work done, but if we think that there's more refinement that has to be done to her proposed application form, we'll still be able to take her work product and refine it.
Exactly, we will, and over July and August, we need to hire someone who will be ready to go with us on September 1st. So we're gonna have
Yeah.
that over the summer.
Yeah, and I suppose this is a
So I
tentative
don't
schedule.
know if we should
so
start
don't-
taking applications until we have that person in place.
Yeah.
What do you think? We should have that person in place first before we start accepting applications.
Well, do we have to commit one way or the other yet?
Well, it's not written in stone, but approximately what we might be able to accomplish. In the time, this is a timeline that we think we can, actually do this. And if we need to refine it, like you said, we will. We will, and we
Yeah,
could,
but certainly ideally, it would be good to have assistance when the applications start coming in.
okay, so applicants submit funding applications by October, I would say October 31st.
Okay.
2018. CPC responds to eligibility determination forms. I don't even know what that is, sorry.
Oh, that is fairly simple. You know, we know that the projects have to fall into that narrow band of categories.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so I think her number 2 is we're going to have a form to fill out to determine whether a project is even really eligible. And we
Okay.
are going to make the determination about whether it is
So there's gonna
eligible
be-
before we ask for a full application.
So before they do the application, they're gonna fill out a determination form, and we're gonna look at it and tell them if,
Yeah,
is that how that works?
I think the application is what we take a look at, and then we, once we see it, we determine, are there other things that we need, more information, or, did they answer the questions
Okay.
appropriately?
Okay, so
Then we
that-
can get back to them and give
Okay.
them feedback.
Well, see, here's the thing, then that should be after October 31st. We're gonna go backwards there.
yeah, I mean, the 2A, 2B, eligibility determination, it seems to me to be basic, and if we know that a project isn't going to be eligible, at that point, we can tell them either you can fix this maybe, or don't pour any more money and time into pursuing this. This just isn't something that the CPA will be able to fund. So it makes sense for that to come before a full application and a full review of the
Oh,
application.
okay, so that would happen before, okay. So, but how, if they don't get their application into us by October 31st, we won't know what to tell them about their eligibility.
Well, that's why there's a separate, I think.
Oh, there's a
why there-
separate thing,
Yeah,
okay, that's what I wanted to know, okay.
yeah, I think that
All right.
what Roberta is contemplating here is a much more bare bones, here's how to determine whether this
Okay.
even will work before you
Okay.
go and fill out the full form.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Okay, so sometime September 1st, we're gonna start making the applications available, so we should have the determination forms by September 1st? Or after?
The applications are going to go out to people, or they're available to people by,
September 1st.
okay.
Yeah, at this point, time is getting really tight for us to be ready.
So if the applications are gonna be ready, or at least we're gonna look at, tweak them a little bit by June 30th, would it be, to get them out by August,
To get what out?
the applications?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, or just get the determination forms out in
Or the
August.
Oh,
determination.
okay.
Okay, why don't we do that then? Okay, so August for both of those, August 1st. Okay, so then, the introduction meeting for the first round of CPA fundings. That would be us just having a regular meeting, in July.
Okay.
One of our regular meetings in July would be introduction meeting for first round of CPA funding.
So I tell you this, we're inviting people in,
Yeah,
prospective,
Yeah.
prospective applicants.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay,
What do we say on that?
sometime in July, so July 1st plus on.
There it comes July 4th,
Yeah, I know.
wreaking havoc.
Yeah, so by then, presumably, we would need to have a fairly complete application package so people know what they're talking about when they come in, and we can give them the guidance they need.
Okay, so Roberta will have to have her stuff done by June 30th. We can examine them our first meeting in July, and then, and if everything's good, or we change whatever, and then by the end of July, we can have our introduction meeting for first round of CPA. Okay, then we can go back to number 7, and, so you think that you should be done sometime in May as the city council to, make your, that vote on it and say that, these are the projects that we agree with and can go forward?
Yeah, I think if we had, if we had April and May, that, yeah,
Okay, so it's June 1st?
yep,
Would the award letters go out June 1st?
yep.
Okay. Grant agreements executed,
June 2nd.
yeah, yes, if they're ready to go, they should be, I guess that's the funding, that's the actual funding. So we'll have 2 years of funding by then too, so that'll be good,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so, June, why don't we just put June and not put a date?
Okay.
I think we need some professional feedback on when that can actually be done.
Right, exactly. I'm not sure about that, all that, and I don't know what review community needs and application process unless that means starting over in July, again.
Right.
The first, number
So
one's
July
July, so July 1st, we'll start all over again.
Yeah, I think the state statute requires the public planning process to be repeated every year, so that's probably what Roberta's referring to here.
I guess you can, well, you know what could happen is we might get some projects and they might not work. None of them will be good, so we don't have any. I mean, that's okay too, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
But then you have to carry that amount forward and you have to let the state know and
Yeah,
the city know, the city council know.
We got,
You gotta
yeah,
meet
we
it.
got, we got time. We got 10
Okay,
minutes.
all right, so that's, everybody good with those dates?
I think that's a good start.
All right, it's a good start, you're right, it's a good start.
Gotta start somewhere.
making progress here.
Okay, let's see, what else did we need to talk about? Anybody else have any other business that they want to bring up that we didn't talk about? Important, let me see here. Okay, so in the fall, we have to set a reserve fund. That's what she mentioned to me. We have to do a reserve fund in the fall to the city council. That's the same thing we did last year, remember that budget, that estimated budget?
right.
Oh, yeah.
We have to do that again in the fall, she just reminded me about that. And I'm sure there's other things online for the state that we have to do sometime in June before July 1st, in order to access the funding source. So I'll have to look that all up and see. Andrew would be the one, because he's our financial person, he would be the one who would do whatever paperwork has to be done with the state. But I don't know what that is yet.
Okay.
I know there's something that has to be done.
He did mention something today when I was with him, but,
Yeah,
so.
I think he knows.
He's on top of it.
Yeah, I think he knows what has to. Okay, so if that's it,
I think we're good.
we
So,
good?
I would just reach out again to the public, anybody out there that might be listening. Get on the city webpage, fill out that survey, get a hold of any of your friends, have them fill out the survey.
Friends, family,
Let's get some input out there.
here.
yes. I'll second that motion.
We're all behind that one.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so
Okay.
I move we adjourned. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That was very productive.
Yes.
It's easy, when we have enough people here to have a meeting.
That's right. So I won't be here May 7th, but I will be here,
Oh,
for a
yeah.
good duration
Our
after
next
that.
meeting is May
Yeah.
7th.
and she'll be here and all this stuff, but.
Yeah, she's gonna be here for the next couple of meetings.
Okay, so I'll make the
because-
next one after
Make
that.
sure you read the preservation
Yeah.
draft so that you can get back
Yes,
to
no,
her
I
and
wanna
let her
get
know
feedback to her.
it's mostly just historical information and statistics about,
Also, I
The
thought
city.
The demographics were really
they
interesting and
were,
useful.
they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, I agree. That'll be a good resource for whoever's doing a project to
Yeah.
look at. Whoops.
I think that's what resonated the most with the people that was there, to really actually see that
Yes,
demographic and
I
make
agree.
sense of it.
I
Yeah.
agree,
Yeah.
yeah. Very good, okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Pick that back there. I'll know where it is next time.
Handy dandy binder, thank you very much.
Yeah, I know, I bet you're thrilled. Well, you know what, if maybe Ryan can hang on to that for you and you can just, why don't you, let me show you what's in here real quick. Okay, that's your stuff, okay. That's just newspaper articles, okay, so here's the,
I'll just tell Franco I talked to you a little bit.
here's the first thing that, remember Mike and Libby put together. That's the first thing on, here's the ballot question. Okay, here's the,
Here's the ordinance, I
Ordinance.
recognize that.
this is Roberta's company's proposal, and here's some more articles about it. Okay, then it starts the minute meetings. I put, remember I was gonna
Yeah,
that's in there. And I got, everything except the these two, and plus today now. That, maybe there should be some, minutes, and then I would save all the agendas. I would have a section for all agendas, put an agenda in here. This is the exemption checklist. This is the flyer that Roberta did. This is the survey. That's the other side of her flyer. This is the survey. So
Looking good.
we're getting there. This is I don't know if you want to keep this or not. This was Pioneer Valley's.
I've got it in electronic format.
Okay.
I think it might as well stay with the binder.
Okay, but I mean,
We don't really need it
or
for
do we
anything.
need it?
Yeah, no, I mean, we wound up with the other bid, so.
Okay.